Oh, let me take out the trash real quickly. Huh? Why can't I open the door? Oh man, I left my keys inside. Locking yourself out of a German apartment is actually quite common among newcomers. The reason is there is no door handle, and doors automatically lock when they close behind you. In a lot of the cases, we as newcomers forget our keys inside, and then it's a moment to panic and freak out. But don't worry, we created this video to hopefully help you if you're ever in such a situation. In this video, we're going to talk about how to handle the case if you get locked out. We're going to do an example conversation between a German locksmith and myself as an international to ask for help. And we're going to give tips on how to prevent being locked out. Did you know that you can turn off the automatic auto locking system in some doors? So that is a massive thing. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we help internationals settle into life in Germany more smoothly. So the big question is, how do you handle the case if you're locked out of your apartment, Yvonne?
If you don't have anyone in your vicinity with an extra key, there is only one option, and that is to call a locksmith. And I know locksmith rings a lot of bells and alarms and it's costly, and that's what I always thought, based on my maybe knowledge from 10 years ago. But we did some research and surprise, surprise, a locksmith is actually not that pricey. Meaning the price ranges from 50 euro to 150 euro, which is still a lot of money, but I had like 300 euros and more in my mind. The price depends really on the time of day. During the week, it's the cheapest, whereas in the evening hours or on the weekends, especially Sundays, it can be more pricey.
You simply need to Google locksmith, which in German is called
Schlüsseldienst,
plus your city, and you will have an abundance of results. We did this experiment from multiple cities, and there was more than enough options to choose from. Impressively enough, a lot of them had really high reviews. One important thing to point out about the price. When you call a locksmith, it is important that you talk about the price before he or she drives to your location. The reason is because locksmith is actually one of the professions that is not regulated in Germany, which is a fun fact. Therefore, there is a few black sheep in the market, and some might actually abuse the situation on a Sunday and maybe charge you the 300 or 400 euros that we've heard in certain forums that locksmiths charge. So it's important that you talk about a fixed price. A lot of them actually name or list the price on their website, so it's pretty transparent, and that just adds trust, and you know that you're talking to someone that they're not going to overcharge you, right?
Correct, yes. It's also always a good idea to find a locksmith in your proximity, so maybe in your neighborhood, definitely in your city, to reduce cost for them to actually drive to your place. Now, we called up a few locksmiths throughout our research in various cities in Germany, and of course I spoke German with them, but I asked if they would also help in English, and everyone I talked to said, yeah, I speak English as well. So that is also maybe to calm down your nerves, an option to speak a little bit of Denglish to find out what your need is. If you feel uncomfortable with just calling up a stranger to open the door to your house, the ADAC, which is the biggest German automobile club and generally has a very big and trustworthy brand, they also offer the service of locksmithing.
Locksmithing.
To find more information here, you can also Google ADAC Schlüsseldienst and you will land on a website that gives you all the information. They claim that their locksmith will arrive within 60 minutes, that they're of course all proven by them, and that they're all serious, legit businesses. They list their prices as starting from 96 euros, so slightly higher than the local ones that we found online during a regular workday. And during the evenings and weekends, it's 169 for the regular service.
I mean, it's all about perspective, but of course, 150 euros to get into my apartment again, I think it's not so bad as freaking out and expecting a 500 euro bill. It's important to point out that you have to pay the locksmith from your own pocket. Maybe another important question to ask when calling them is if you don't have cash on you, is if you can pay by card or if you can actually ask for them to give you an invoice that you can then do a SEPA transfer to pay them within 14 days, usually is what you have.
That is actually the standard practice, that they will send you an invoice later on. Because think about it, you're locked out, you don't have your keys, you most likely won't have your wallet or cash on you in that amount. So they can actually not force you to pay in cash on site. That is actually a sign of something is fishy.
Interesting.
And you should insist on receiving an invoice.
Yes, and one other important thing to point out is that your private liability insurance will not cover the cost of you getting locked out. Some home contents insurance policies have this. However, I would say it's been quite rare that we found one that has you getting locked out as part of their policy protection. It's different if you lose your keys though, but we're going to make a whole different video in case of if you lose your keys. But if you get locked out, then you will need to pay that from your own pocket. Another very important thing to point out is that the locksmith, if they're trustworthy, right, they have to ask for your ID. That is to verify that you are the person living in that apartment and that you're not a burglar or someone who should not be actually entering the property.
Correct, yeah. Again, the ones we talked to on the phone said that they actually will only open the door if you can show proof of ID beforehand. And I mean, then I said, if I locked out, I don't plan on this. Usually my wallet is inside if I just take out the trash. They said, well, in that case, they will most likely then have to call the police who can verify your identity, which is nothing unusual. I mean, they can do so. And this shows how legit this locksmith was. On the website of the ADAC, they actually state that if you don't have your ID on you because it's inside your apartment, you need to show it first thing after they open the door. So any locksmith that does not ask for your ID is not to be trusted.
Now, to ease your nerves, in case your locksmith does not speak English, so I would first suggest calling them up and asking very politely, Guten Tag, sprechen Sie English? If the answer is 9, then maybe this conversation might be helpful with some vocabulary. Yvonne is going to be our locksmith.
Schlüsseldienst Yvonne, hallo.
I locked myself out of the apartment and I Googled Schlüsseldienst Düsseldorf and I found Schlüsseldienst Yvonne. So let me call. Ding, ding.
Schlüsseldienst Yvonne, hallo.
Guten Tag, ich habe mich ausgeschlossen.
Und Sie möchten, dass wir Ihnen Ihre Tür öffnen?
Ja, bitte. Wie viel kostet es?
Das kostet 55 € plus Anfahrt.
Und wie kann ich für das zahlen?
Da schicken wir Ihnen im Nachhinein eine Rechnung.
Okay.
Wo wohnen Sie denn?
Meine Adresse ist... Say your address. Wie lange brauchen Sie?
Wir fahren jetzt los, wir sind in 15 Minuten da.
Okay, ich bleib hier. Danke.
Bis gleich.
Tschüss. So Yvonne just tricked me because she said 55, how much did he charge? 55 euros plus Anfahrt, which is plus the drive to go there. The next question would have been, wie viel kostet die Anfahrt?
Yeah, it should be like 10, 20, 30 euro, depends on how far away you live. And then I would ask again for die Gesamtkosten, the fixed price, to just know what I'm dealing with.
Let us know in the comments if this conversation was helpful or it was just mumpus, which is nonsense. We would be curious. If so, we can make more conversations like this.
If the content of this video is helpful to you, then please be sure to also like the video and subscribe to our channel.
And if you want to go the extra mile, you can always donate a virtual coffee at simplegermany.com/coffee. Thank you for your support. So how do you prevent locking yourself out of your apartment? Take your keys.
Well, that is the most obvious number one answer. But again, usually locking out happens when you don't plan with it, right?
Right.
Especially because you might expect that you can't open the door from the outside because that's just what you're used to. In Germany, that is not the case, as we've established. However, some doors, I would say, especially more modern doors, they have a function that you can activate to actually be able to push the door open from the outside. I refer to as a Schnapper.
As you see in this video, on the door frame, some doors, not all of them, have this Schnapper, as Yvonne calls it. We don't even know if that's the real name, but it's this very small metal handle that you can push up or down. And depending on where it is, you need to try. If it's down, I believe, it locks automatically. And if you push it up, or it's the other way around, I don't know, then it doesn't, the door closes, but you can still push it open. And that has been actually a brand new thing that I learned last year when Yvonne showed this to me. And like I said, it's not every door that has this. So you would need to check if your door has this function. And if so, you can decide to activate it. But bear in mind that then you always have to remember to lock your door because, like we said, anyone can push it open if you forget to do so.
You should lock your door always. Anyways, because just having it fall shut into the door frame is not a proficient or sufficient way of locking the door. However, it's super convenient, for example, if you just want to do some work outside, depending on how your house setup is, and you are constantly going in and out of something, that's a great function.
Yes, and if you don't have this function because your door frame might be older or something, you can always use a door stopper that you can put between the door and the frame, so whenever you exit and if the wind comes, it just doesn't smack it shut. Another thing one can do is, of course, if you have a trusted friend or neighbor, is to give a copy of your apartment key to them. So in case it happens, then they have the possibility to help you out. One important thing to mention is that the landlords by law should not have a copy of your apartment key. We had the case that we locked ourselves out once.
Well, we thought we did.
We thought we
didn't, but we thought we did.
And we called our landlord, and he very kindly said, doesn't matter if I could help you or not, by law, I can't have a key, so I don't have a key. I think the most convenient thing, of course, is to have a neighbor that you trust, that you can leave a copy of your key with, so in case it happens, you can just ring the doorbell and they can hand it to you.
If they're at home.
If they're at home, of course.
Or then at least maybe you're able to call them, yeah.
Yes, totally. Now, building relationships with neighbors is definitely a big important part of living in Germany, because neighbors can be really nice if you have a good relationship with them. We have a whole video on how to kind of like build that rapport with your neighbors in Germany, which you can check out here on the left. Until next time, tschüss!
Do you want me to be the locksmith, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wie viel kostet das?
Eh.
And why am I holding a phone and you're not?
Let's do it again.
But I like the phone holding.
Yeah, okay. Also,